to help me with this portion of the Ethos Academy because, as you know, Sepp is a great example of believe, belong, become. And we had a wonderful discussion a few months back, and so we're just going to have a little bit of a dialogue based off of some of the things that we talked about. Sepp, what advice can you give to people who are going through a really hard time and maybe have lost belief in themselves because of the difficulties of the situations that they're facing?
Yeah, I think for me, what's helped me, and for all of us, we all have tough times in our lives, but when things have been really challenging, the thing that kept me going was all of you. Because it helps me get out of my own way, my own struggle, and when I know I've got another Zoom to show up for, or somebody that's really reaching out and relying on me to help them along their journey, that's probably the most powerful way for me that helped me rise above my stuff, and it enabled me to let go of anything that was in the way in that moment. And really, everything is about each moment to the next moment. So it's just knowing that there was a thing there about each other and believing in each other. And to me, Asea, the whole concept of Asea and each other has kept me going through the toughest times. So, yeah.
Thank you. So how do you continue to believe in yourself when it feels like the world is crashing down on you and you just can't get a break?
And this is probably my learning curve. I think the biggest challenge to build this business is developing ourselves. And there's, for me, one of the biggest things is asking for help and being okay.
We love you, Sepp!
Yeah, just having the courage to ask for help, because I know how I feel when I'm helping others, and it feels so amazing, and I feel on purpose, and I feel that I'm here for a reason, and I have to remember that somebody else wants to feel that too, and they would love to do that for me, and just know that being so vulnerable and raw is okay. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why Tyler, when he made that slide that we need to believe in others, is so important, because we can't expect to always be able to be on the top of our game 100% all the time. But it is hard to sometimes ask for help. But I believe that almost everybody in this room, if someone came to you and asked for help, you'd be willing to do it, right? So why do we take that pressure on ourselves and expect ourselves to carry all of our burdens all alone? Thank you for reminding us of that, Sepp. Sepp, when we were talking, you told me that you have had a philosophy shift over the years. Will you share that with the audience? Because it was super powerful, what you said.
Is that about?
Okay.
There's so many things we talk about.
I know, we talked for a long time. Where you said, nothing is happening to
Oh,
me.
yeah, I got it.
Okay.
So I guess from a young age, and I think this can apply to any age of our life, there's a point where people might feel or say about themselves that, oh my God, this is happening to me, and the doom and the gloom, and really there's a story behind that that's not really true, and that's that we're being a victim. And there is no such thing as about being a victim. And I think over the time, as I learned to get to know myself and interacting and connecting with people, and my prayer or meditation that I do constantly in the way I connect to my source, or whatever the mystery, is paying attention to those thoughts and seeing how they're serving me. And it took me on a journey throughout my whole life, and I think the next phase was that, okay, well, I'm not a victim, so therefore everything is happening for me. And that felt really good, because all of a sudden there's a reason for this. I don't know what it is, I don't understand, but I know that there's going to be an amazing journey of remembering who I really am. And then I guess too, I'm sort of at a stage now in my life where on a deep spiritual level, I see things very differently, and I'm going to get a little bit spiritual out there, so I hope you don't mind. Full respect to people from any religious background, but for me personally, I see myself and consciousness as best friends. And every time something happens, that experience is seeking to experience itself, as well as consciousness is seeking to experience itself with and through my body called Sepp. So when something radical or hard or challenging or even wonderful and beautiful happens, what I say to myself is, wow, we're experiencing this moment, this event, and I have a new way of saying for myself is that, wow, the I inside of this body called Sepp, who's observing this whole thing with consciousness, is going, we're experiencing something together, and it's actually happening through us. So in the moment, when a massive challenge comes along and then we're experiencing something, we're looking at it, and instead of judging or being a victim or going, well, there's a reason for this, there's something even higher for me, and that is, there's two questions I ask myself. What would love do now? And what is the highest version of me that would like to step through this experience? And somewhere in that silence, when I give myself that time, I get to experience a moment to make a new decision of who I really am. And really, there's nothing on this planet to learn other than to remember who we really are. And when we take the time to sit and think about that, everything in this life, in this experience, is happening through me by being an observer of the experience. And regardless of how terrible or challenging or scary or wonderful it is, I can ask myself those two questions. Is this who I really am in making a decision to move forward? And what would love do now? And somewhere in that moment of being still, our inner wisdom speaks to us, and we step into the highest and best version of ourselves in that moment. And then we can be fully co-creating in the world of what's possible. And that's really about the whole ethos of Asea, is powering potential through these core values that are guiding us every step of the way. And these principles are so profound. So that's, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's everything is happening through me, and I get to choose in that given moment, is this who I really am in the decision next to move forward? And what would love do now? And what is the highest and best version of me that can present to the world and have a new experience?
It's so beautiful. So I'm going to talk those 3 steps through that you told me. Nothing is happening to me. He moved from that to life is happening for me to life is happening through me. Isn't that beautiful? Also, when we spoke, you said that there were 3 words that were kind of your leadership words: visionary, inspired, and leadership. Talk about those words a little bit.
Yeah, so when Tyler was here last year, he shared a book called, sorry, I can't think of it right now, but it was about the meaning, the true meaning behind words and the power of words. And I immediately, anything that Tyler says to read, I just go and get it straight away and I read it, because I know that his wisdom is so profound. And I remember I just about finished the book. I had it on Audible, and I woke up one morning, it was 4 in the morning, it was still dark, and I got up and I penned down these words, and I didn't even know what I wrote until I came back to these words later on when it was daylight to read it. And the 3 words that came up was visionary, inspired, leadership. And it was all about finding my purpose, my real purpose, not just a wishy-washy purpose, but something that when I get out of bed every day, I feel so impelled to be that. And the word visionary is, and through understanding and reading through the book, visionary is to, I have to remember it now. See and believe. Now, visionary is something we're not seeing, but it's what we feel from our heart. So, inspired is to breathe life into other people's dreams, so whatever that looks like. And leadership is to be a pathfinder, shining a light so bright that ourselves and the person that we're connecting with can see a path through the haze, through the craziness, through the guts, the grunge, the sadness, the whatever, and we just hold space and shine a light. And all of a sudden, it made sense to me. So really, my whole life is about seeing and feeling from my heart, which is visionary. Inspired or inspiration is to breathe life into other people's dreams. And leadership is to be a light, be an example, and shine so bright that other people's lights turn on. And for me, those three words now are really the true essence. And I think when I had that realization, I had this image of a book flicking through my life from a little boy through to now, and those three words were represented in my family, all my brothers and sisters, and through growing up at school. I stood up to bullies. I couldn't handle people being picked on. I always cared about somebody else first and supported them, and I've always loved lighthouses since I was a little boy. I grew up on the beach, and lighthouses always to me represented a path, a light, and I know that we're all members of light, and light is encoded information, and that light is really who we are. And visionary, inspired leadership is seeing and feeling from my heart, breathing life into other people's dreams, and being a light and a pathfinder for them.
I love that. Thank you. Another thing that we spoke about that was super important for you is creating a space of belonging for your team and everybody that you come in contact with. Talk about that for a little bit.
From being self-employed, probably when I finished my apprenticeship or even before then, so I've been self-employed my whole life, pretty much, 99%. And one thing I learned from other great people that inspired me, that I adopted, that worked, was it's a simple phrase that I've been saying and sharing with my teams throughout my building life and different phases of my life. People go where the action is, and they stay where they're loved and valued. And when you think about that, it doesn't matter if you've got people in your team who are not doing the business. It's not what Asea is about. It's about humanity. It's about connection. It's about love. It's about friendship. And when people can feel that, they're going to stick around. And by the way, they get excited. They're always curious, like, what's Sepp up to now? Or what's that team up to now? What are those guys doing? But they always know that there's a sense of belonging. There's a sense that it doesn't matter who you are, what your story is, what your background, you belong because you exist. And the fact that you exist matters. And that's really what it's all about. So I think it's a simple philosophy that I've used throughout my whole life in all the different assets.
I love that. Have you been able to take the principles of Believe, Belong, Become to help inspire team members as they're working through building their business, and if so, how?
That's a great question. I think the team who know, the very first thing the first thing before they actually have a Zoom where we figure out what they want next with Asea is they have to watch the Ethos video. That's number one. It's just like, we don't even have a conversation to want that. Why? Because I want them to connect with the essence and the energy and the love and the guidance and the leadership of what this company stands for. And somewhere in the equation of those 8 chapters of the Ethos, it's going to speak to their heart. And straight away they're going to feel, wait a second, I can feel this, I can relate to this, I can actually park my heart here and move forward. The second thing is the next level marketing, which is because they go hand in hand. I think they're the guiding principles, and I believe it's the next level of business mentoring, business training. It's the next highest order of how the new economy is going to be ushered in, and that's through service. And the next level marketing is really guiding principles that have such a high frequency. And we're teaching people by example, cause and effect. Because if you look at what Tyler teaches in the next level marketing, we are the cause that makes an impact or an effect where people are making a decision. And that's the natural process, and that's the beautiful way how we can honour humanity and honour their spirit, honour their agency. So those probably are the two key principles. And then there are times where people are out of line, and including, I say to anyone, hey, if I'm out of line, call me on it, because I want to show up authentically every time. So we check in and we say, how's this relating to your life with this aspect of the ethos? So the ethos is probably the driving principle, and pretty much everyone makes a decision to do something. It doesn't matter how big or small, because their heart has got the feeling of what the ethos is all about.
Thank you, Sepp. Thank you for sharing your spirit of believe, belong, become with the audience. You are an example of someone who really, truly believes in this principle, and I believe has helped you tremendously to become the amazing associate that you are and the leader that you are to your team. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.